Hey, bricks and mortar retailers, welcome to this week's live. A bit of a delay, having a few issues with StreamYard. And anyway, we're back here. We're talking about how to generate excess cash in your bricks and mortar retail store. That's been the theme for the past few weeks. And today it's all about inventory and about the inventory method that I have come up with. Actually, it's the same system that I used when I was running my bricks and mortar retail pharmacies, because you know how it is. We all see this excess stock that we have lying around our store, but how do we actually turn that into cash? And as always, I'm jumping into it. But nevertheless, it's always one of those things where we intuitively know that we have a lot of cash sitting on our shelves, basically in the back office or in the back underneath the gondolas, and we know that we can turn into cash, but very few of us have a system in place on how to manage that. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So, and I'll just harp on about that. So there is a workbook associated with this and with this presentation. I'm not going to go through all aspects of the workbook because that's for my clients. But if you want a copy of it, just pop the word workbook in the comments section below and I'll make sure you get a copy. I'm going to go through very much the high level things that you need to do, what you need to do in your business to turn that excess inventory into cash. And even though this document contains the how you need to do it, I saved that for my clients, the one-on-one. But if you want a copy of it, like I said, you should be able to work it out if you want to do it yourself. So that's yeah. So if you want a copy of that, just pop the word below. So one of the major frustrations, like I alluded to, when running our bricks and mortar retail stores is this lack of financial flexibility, right? We can be constrained by the lack of available cash in our business, and it makes it really difficult to cover even our operating expenses like the rent, the payroll, utilities, etc. And having this limited financial flexibility can lead to a whole host of trouble, anxiety especially, and trying to meet our financial obligations. It's just not so good at all. The other frustration that we have is we've got this excess inventory that ties up all our valuable capital that otherwise could be used to address cash flow issues and invest in growing our stores. A lot of us don't realize that this is actually money sitting on the shelf, and that can lead to cash flow volatility. So you can get uncertainty and instability. One of the reasons why you're feeling like that, one of the frustrations that you're experiencing in your store because of cash flow volatility is simply because you've got too much money tied up in stock that hasn't been moving or is just sitting on the shelf doing nothing. So what do we actually want? So as bricks and mortar retailers, we want to be able to have increased cash. You want cash in your physical bank account, and that's so important. You also need optimized inventory management. You want to be able to implement effective inventory management practices that will allow you to ensure that you're ordering things correctly. You've got systems in place for out-of-date stock, for dead stock, and that you're generally optimizing your inventory levels within your store. And that's a big thing that we want as bricks and mortar retailers. And the reason we would want that is, and so when it comes to trying to do these things, there are some really big mistakes that I see bricks and mortar retailers making. And this is the same mistakes that I made when I was running my businesses, when I was running my pharmacies. And the first one there is over ordering inventory. If we don't have an inventory ordering system in place, we can over order, and it leads to excess stock sitting on your shelves underneath the gondolas and just basically collecting dust and tying up precious capital. The other big mistake is we don't actually have any sort of system for inventory tracking. So not implementing some sort of stock take function or any sort of inventory tracking function within our store leads to a whole heap of problems. And the other mistake that we make is that we fail to account for ongoing seasonal trends within the marketplace. And this happens to all of us retailers, whether you're a boutique, wine shop, supermarket, etc., etc. So they're the big mistakes that we make as bricks and mortar retailers. And so what I want to illustrate to you is like the big idea when it comes to this stuff, when it comes to inventory management. So think of inventory optimization as tending to your garden, and just as a gardener carefully tends to each plant, pruning, weeding, watering to ensure healthy growth. Retailers, we have to tend to our inventory, and we need to make sure that we trim excess stock, remove dead inventory, and nurture the high demand items. And by doing this, by having a well-balanced inventory garden like the gardener, we can reap the rewards of healthy cash flow and sustainable growth. So that's the big idea that I'm trying to get across today. And so what do you need to do? Like I mentioned, actually, this is probably a good time to pause. And I'd love to know if you can put in the comments section below what techniques, what strategies do you employ, do you have in place within your store to help manage excess inventory? I'd love to hear about it. Pop that into the comment section below. Great. So when it comes to this excess inventory, there's a couple of key things that I will run through today. And all of these things are designed to flush your bank account with cash. And you will not believe how many retailers do not do this. Even the big retailers, some of them overlook this component, and they're basically just tying up excess capital on their shelves, in their back office, etc. So here is what you need to do. So the first thing is, believe it or not, I've been speaking about mindset quite regularly the past few weeks, and having the clear mindset on what you want to achieve and why you need to be achieving it is so important, even when it comes to inventory. You need to have strategy in place. So remember, I can give you all the strategies that you need, and I'll run through what you need to do today. But if you haven't got the proper mindset to execute the strategies in store, then they're going to be for no reason. It's going to be stupid. And execution is key. How many of us, I don't know if you've been in the same boat, but I certainly have, where I've read a whole heap of information and, I know exactly what I need to do. I've heard all the gurus tell me what I need to do within my store, but then I actually haven't gone about executing it. As we all are starting to realize, the way that we get results in our store is to actually implement and execute all the things that I'm talking about in your store. So execution is really important, and it feels like I shouldn't even be mentioning it, but just from working with clients and just with general life in general, from what I see around me, execution is so important. So excuse me, I'm going to run briefly, very, very briefly, on these three things that you need to do. Actually, no, I'm going to run through the strategy only. The mindset, there is a worksheet here, which I call the mindset formula. Interesting. I think my light's going to collapse. Give me a second. I might just tighten that up. Okay, we just prevented an occupational hazard. So this is the mindset formula. This is what I run through with my clients and how we need to shift our mindset so that we get things done, basically. And so I would encourage you to read this, but I'm not going to go through that today. What I want to go through is how we go about, I'm watching that. I'm watching my light here. How are we going to go about turning this excess inventory into cash, what it's really all about, okay? And so the first thing that we need to do is you basically need to assess your inventory. And you want to make sure that your inventory is already categorized and that you have a system in place for identifying items that have been sitting on your shelf for an extended period of time. And you want to be able to group your items as per the relevance to the customers and the business in the marketplace, right? This is real basic stuff, the inventory assessment. And it still surprises me that not very many retailers do this. So you need to do that inventory assessment. You also need to make sure that you are using your point of sale system. Oh my God. How many of us bricks and mortar retailers are using our point of sale systems to the best of their capabilities? Seriously, just put your hand up, emoji in the comments section below if you are. I certainly was not in the beginning, because point of sale systems, they can be a real beast. You're in this group, hopefully you're using your point of sale system for your store, but there are so many functions within our point of sale system. And so if you take anything away from today, is to actually go back to your point of sale vendor and ask them how you do some of these things. And you want to make sure that you're able to identify some of the data points within your point of sale system as how they pertain to your store. So you want to be looking here. I'm just going to go through the slow moving or stagnant inventory. So this is one strategy that you need to be implementing all the time, that you need to have a strategy for slow moving stock. And usually I recommend 90 days. 90 days is what's considered dead stock, because that cash that you've spent to purchase that inventory, if you haven't already turned it into cash in 90 days, it's basically dead money, dead stock, and you need to quickly turn it into cash and reinvest in your business. So, but I get it, right? Because you've spent all this money, time, effort trying to put together a strategy to buy this stock. Perhaps you thought, yes, this was the stock that I'm going to have in store. It's going to make a lot of money and it's what my clients want. But when it actually comes to it, it never sold, and it's now collecting dust in the back office or on the gondola floor. And so we need to let go of that idea or that ego of hanging on to this stock and really just cut and clear it. So we need to have a system in place to identify dead stock. And what I'm suggesting is, like, a dead stock in your stores should be no longer than 90 days. Very, very few exceptions to that rule on the longer side. It can be less if you're in perishables, but you need a way to stay on top of it. And even before you get to that stage, it might be an idea when you're first coming across this, when you're first doing it, is to just do a cull within your store. Literally, the basic principle of just walking through your store and just seeing what's collecting dust and just pulling everything out and putting it onto the side and really just getting rid of it. And I'll go through some of the strategies there. But I'd love to hear how many of you just yes, give me a yes or a no. Have you got excess inventory? Have you got excess stock that you've ordered that you thought would sell but you haven't sold, and you're just hanging on with dear life, not letting go, and that's why you're keeping the stock, hoping one day it might sell? Let me know. Just put a yes or a no in the comment section below. I'd love to know. I mean, I did the same thing. It was so hilarious. Okay, so cool. And then now what we want to do is run through a clearance strategy, right? And there are so many ways that you can start to clear your stock. You can offer discounts, promotions, so many there. I'm not going to run through them, but they're there in the worksheet. And so you need to basically clear your stock. I think the hardest thing here that, the hardest thing as retailers is actually doing it. I mean, we know what we need to do. Excess stock, we need to sell it, we need to get rid of it, but we never get around to it. We don't have a strategy in place to do it. So you need to get rid of your excess stock and have a strategy in place, and think about the strategy that you're going to employ, and turning that strategy into a system, because there's no point in having one strategy. Well, there is a point. You can have a strategy in place, but the key is to continuously flush your bank account with cash. You need to turn that strategy into a system so it occurs every month or every week or whatever system that you've set up in store. It really depends on your business. So just turn the volume down. Whoopsie. Yeah. So by the way, I've gone back to this mic today because I was having a few issues with the other mic and my headset was running out of batteries. It was just a technological nightmare, but nevertheless. Where were we? Yeah, so you need to come up with a strategy for getting rid of your stock, and also make sure that you include them as part of your promotional campaigns as well. So you need to make sure that you're doing all of those things to continuously turn that excess stock into cash. Here are some other strategies that you can use as well. I'm not going to go through them. Like I said, if you want a copy of the worksheet, just pop the word worksheet below. You can work your way through this. The other thing that you need to do when it comes to inventory is to be able to turn it into cash is this concept of increasing your stock turn. Many of us have heard this, but very few of us know how to implement it. And basically, it's reducing the amount of time that your inventory sits on the shelf. And by increasing your stock turn, you're effectively increasing the amount of cash in your bank account, and you're selling the stock a lot quicker. Now, in order to get to that stage, you need to a high inventory turnover, and you need to determine what that is for your business. You can certainly look at industry standards within the retail sector that you're in, and you can then start to implement some of these systems or benchmark yourself against some of these standards. And just that simple fact of increasing your stock turn, so ordering correctly, making sure that you have an ordering system that orders correctly, and turning over your stock more often has a great effect on increasing the amount of cash in your trading bank account. So that's yeah. And the other thing that you can do is start to work with suppliers. I'm not going to go through that, except to say there's one really, really big tip here is to negotiate some extra payment terms with your suppliers. So the longer you delay the payments to your suppliers, the more cash that you're going to have in your bank account, and the better it is for your business. Conversely, some of our stores, we've got accounts receivable, or we have people on accounts. So we want to make sure that we have systems in place to collect our money a lot quicker. And I encourage all of you to set up some sort of direct debit system. Yes, there are charges associated with that, but once you get over the charge and build it into the product pricing of your store, you're basically getting money coming into your account a lot quicker. For some of our retail stores, that's very, very relevant. So you want to make sure that you do that. Cool. When it comes to this is SMART goals. I'm not going to run through this here, but this is really important when you're setting up all of these things in your store. So ultimately, when it comes down to turning excess inventory into cash, you want to make sure you keep it simple. So you want to work on the strategies that I've spoken about here, and then you want to create a system so it doesn't happen again. It's really, really important, and you want to do that by keeping it simple. I've given you, if you want a copy of the worksheet, I've gone through a few strategies in there. I haven't actually spoken about them, but you need to pick a few of them and just go deep on them. One of the common occurrences that we have as retailers is we tend to get analysis paralysis, and so it can get overwhelming. So we just need to pick 2 strategies and go hard on it and really implement those strategies for at least a month to get rid of all that excess stock. So that's the next time we're going to talk about average dollar sale. So there you go. So that's the inventory method. I hope you found that useful. I apologize about the delay and the breakup here. But until next time, much love and catch you later.